Just dancing. Just dancing. Nose is cold. Oh my gosh. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. John O'Keefe here. Mr. Rowe to some of you. John to others. Hello. It is good to see you. Happy Friday. Happy day. It is a wonderful, wonderful time to be present with you. It is the end of a busy week. It has been 4 awesome days of reading this brand new book, Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds. I am loving this work. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It is good to see you. I got off school a little earlier than usual. Helped my sweetheart do a little bit of work and some house things. And then I got to get home and go outside and pick some weeds and get my hands in the dirt. It's a little chilly outside here in Georgia right now. And, it's like 46 degrees. I know. Some of my Minnesota folks understand how that is nothing. That's like short weather for them, right? Like, you're going to wear t-shirts and go outside and slip and slide. But the reality is down here, 46 degrees, 45 degrees, it's a little chilly after a little while. We get pretty used to being warm. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Portal Avenue, holy mackerel, Fatima. Specific has her journal, notices everything along her adventures, right? The whole idea of her being able to walk down the street, know exactly where the stop walk is, or the stop crosswalk is, and the crosswalk lady, but she doesn't need to do that because she goes straight down the road. And then she runs into this very, very interesting character, Benny Austin, right? And Benny Austin is a little intriguing, wearing a green private school coat. We have heard of a place that has those, right? And then we have this idea of her coming up by Fatima every day at the same exact moment. And she's singing. She's like, I'm mad, that's a fact. Get ready for the big payback. The big payback! And then spin move, like she's dancing down the sidewalk. And we paused at this moment where she notices Fatima flinch. And she stopped. She stopped singing. She stopped dancing. She stopped walking. Just stopped. Dead in her tracks in the middle of the sidewalk, her face becoming loose, sloshy. That afternoon, when Fatima's parents came home from work, they were ready to ask about her first walk home, but noticed her hobbling. Fatima had already cleaned the wounds with alcohol, yikes, and put Band-Aids on both kneecaps. Why are you walking like that, Fatty? Her mother asked as Fatima inched her way into the mother's hug. I tripped on the way home, landed hard, Fatima explained, still a little embarrassed. And there was a bus full of kids who laughed, she went on, but she left out the part about the woman in the pink pants because she knew that if she told her mother would tell her father, and that would be the end of walking. That would be the end of babysitter's life, back to cheese toast snack time and other coffee kids whining about what they want to watch on TV. And she didn't want that because even though the first walk was rough, anything was worth trying again if it meant she could come home and be alone in her house where she could microwave nuggets and pretend to be a flight attendant like her father. A life jacket is in the pocket under your seat. To put on, place it over your head. Clip on the waistband and pull it tight. Please do not inflate it while you are still inside the aircraft. An evacuation slide and lift raft are at each door. Your crew will direct you to your door. Additional emergency exits are shown on the leaflet. In case of emergency, oxygen masks will drop down in front of you. Please pull the mask down towards your face and place the mask over your mouth and nose. If you are traveling with a child, please attend to yourself first, then the child. Breathe normally. She'd had that memorized since she was little. She'd heard her father say different versions of it through the years, whether it was, in case of emergency, the bath water is in front of you. Please pull your washcloth down toward your face and scrub over your mouth and nose. Or, please do not poop while your butt is still in the underwear. An evacuation slide and life raft are at each door. And by that, I mean, use the toilet. Then he'd do the 2-finger point to the bathroom. Or is it this one? I like that. I keep telling you, you have to pay attention, sweetheart, her mother said now. You have to look both ways and always. That even includes, despite what your dad says, down. The next day, Fatima looked down the whole time, studied the ground with such concentration she didn't notice the clouds forming above her head. The rain came almost at the exact spot where the crack that had clipped her the day before came by the bucketfuls, drenched her in seconds. And as the same bus crept by, the same kids smashed their faces to the glass. They laughed and pointed again, predictable. The boys with the lisp splattered spit on the windows, wiped it clean with his sleeve. The boy behind him sat with the notebook up to his face again, no jokes in his eyes. And the singing lady was there, came bopping down the street like it wasn't raining. She was singing, but the rain was louder than her voice. This time, she was wearing a tuxedo and a top hat and was carrying a closed umbrella. She extended it to Fatima. You play guitar? She asked. Huh? Fatima was confused. There was no guitar. Do you play the guitar? She asked again, and this time strumming the closed umbrella. And before Fatima could answer, the lady said, Yeah, you do. You play it. I can always tell. Ha! Benny can always tell. The lady, Benny, extended the umbrella again. Fatima took it this time, opened it, and Benny said, Woo! Sounds amazing! Bobbing her head and snapping her fingers to nothing. It's your solo. Go, go! Put on a show for the people. Benny stopped walking, waved and cheered for Fatima, who played nothing, just held the umbrella over her head and walked faster. Nothing changes, Fatty. At least nothing major, Fatima's mother explained that evening over dinner. She worked as some kind of environmental scientist, so everything for her was like this. If you see clouds, expect rain. If you see cracks, lift your feet. If you see houses, expect them to be the same houses every day, because houses don't move. They don't change. Routine lessons, her father chimed in, scarfing his food because they had a flight to catch. He had a flight to catch. Routine lessons, risk. And Fatima was tired of the risky stuff, the tripping, the rain. She needed this walk home to be one she could predict so that she could get there safely. That night, she thought about the boy with the notebook, the one on the bus sitting behind the spitty one. She thought about how he hid behind the spiral and lined paper, how it somehow made him feel safer, less out there. At least that's what Fatima thought. So she decided to use a notebook to try to do the same. To write down things in her life so she could pay attention and how they stayed the same and know whenever they changed so that she could be ready for what that change might bring. Her mother did this all the time with her experiments. They always taught her to do this with her science projects over the many years. In order for us to know how these plants grow in the natural sunlight, as opposed to how they grow under the house lights, we have to write down every single constant and every single variable. Then record all progress, every leaf, every inch, every day. She preached just a year before all this. So the next day, the moment the bell rang, Fatima's data collection began. An ongoing list of things that almost never changed. The bell, the hallway, the locker, the lock, the door, the corner, the crossing guard, the houses, the signs. And the singing lady, Benny, who since then has stayed the same in that she changed every day, every single day. 37 continued. Today, Benny's dressed in a black wig. The hair is straight and falls just to her chin. She has on a sky blue dress and combat boots. Difference. She's singing a song that goes, "Run away, child, running wild, better go back home where you belong." Difference. She's doing dance steps. One looks like she's shoveling the ground, like she's digging. 38. I speak to her. 39. She speaks to me, calls me Fatima the Dreamer, says dreamer like dreamer. 40. I ask how she's doing. She says fine. Difference. She tells me she saw a school bus fall from the sky. 41. She always says stuff like that. 42. She asks me if anything's different today. 43. I tell her about Trista Smith and Britton Burns running out of class faster than usual and how I have homework. I have to imagine myself as something else for Mrs. Broom. Also, pointed to the roses missing from the house number 8. Thought Benny would pull one from behind her back or from under her wig, which is something Benny would do. She'd probably call it a microphone, or she'd probably call it a microphone. 44. Benny nods. Difference. And started mumbling, "But how you gonna change the world? How you gonna change the world?" 45. Benny walks with me. Difference. Now screaming, "How are you gonna change the world? How are you gonna change the world? How are you gonna change the world?" 46. I ignore Benny. I keep counting the houses. Difference. Benny won't stop. This is not a song. 47. I keep counting the cracks. Difference. Benny is still screaming as the bus drives by. Screams, "There it is!" But I don't look. I don't want to see if anyone is laughing at Benny or at me. 48. I keep counting the signs. Difference. I can barely hear myself think, even though the signs have been there every day. 49. I stop at house number 15, 1 block from my house, usually where Benny leaves me. Difference. Benny runs in front of me, leans against the stop sign and asks, "Fatima, I'm serious. How are you going to change the world?" 50. I look both ways. Difference. Then I think about Miss Broom's assignment. What could I be? What do I wish I could become to change the world? I think about telling Benny. I might want to be wet cement to full the cracks in all the sidewalks, not to hide, but to stop someone else from tripping. Or maybe I'd be an umbrella to keep someone's head dry, keep someone dry in a storm. But I don't say none of that to Benny, because I don't think either of those things would change the world. So I tell her, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to change the world. Then ask her if she'd maybe let me borrow one of those instruments to play. How are you going to change the world? That's a big question, isn't it? And it takes Benny, kind of a strange lady, dressing in all different things, to make Fatima wonder probably the most important thing in the world. What are you going to do to change the world? I like that. And it only took 3 days of walking to school for her to grow up like that. That's huge. I like that. Let's go back and see what that chapter looked like at the beginning. I want to see if we can understand that a little bit better. Yep. Fatima tripping over the cracks. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we head to Burman Street. Let's take a look at it, do a little inferring, take a little look, see if there's anything that we can notice. Is that a bunny? Is it a frog? Covering heads? Looks like people running. There's the roses. We've heard about them before. Call of duty. Duty, not duty, to duty. Call of duty. Bryson Wills didn't go to school today. His mother let him stay home, not because of all the pain in his face, the black eye, the busted lip, the swollen jaw, the scrapes, but because she figured it was a good idea to let things cool off, to put some space between him and what happened, to let the situation breathe. Before she left the house, she told Bryson a bunch of things, that she loved him and was proud of him, but most importantly, that he shouldn't play video games all day. Bryson's father came into his room after his mom and told him the same things, minus the part about the video games. "Love you, Bry," his dad said, kissing him on the cheek over and over again like he did every morning until Bryson grunted something that his father translated as, "Love you too." Then Bryson rolled over, his plush mattress suddenly prickly like a bed of nails against his bruised body. A few hours later, Bryson was awake, standing, yawning, stretching, all of which felt like he was pulling himself apart. He eased down the hall into the kitchen, microwaved a bowl of oatmeal, poured a glass of apple juice, then sat in front of the TV where, even though his mother said not to, he planned to play some video games all day. He didn't want to think about school or after school, the walk home, none of it. But he couldn't help it. The thoughts were there like the smell of coffee that seemed to linger in the house long after it had been brewed. Bryson chewed his lumpy oatmeal slowly, choked it down, replaying the scene. The moment that landed him there with a body on fire. The punches thrown, the kicks kicked, everyone's phone out, recording. He'd seen clips all over social media the night before. Commentary, filters, memes, hashtags, hashtag Burman Street beat down. The shaky footage of him throwing haymakers, trying not to fall. Because once you fall, it's over. Everyone knows that. Ain't no getting up. Ain't no coming back. He signed out, then signed back in, then deleted all the apps from his phone, at least for a few days. He wouldn't have been able to, but his mom made him unplug from the laughs and likes, from the catchy captions and antics from kids who barely spoke in school but had mastered saying the right things online, matched with the perfect light and angle to turn out of this world boredom into an Oscar-worthy blockbuster. And now Bryson was sitting alone in the living room floor, trying to swallow sludgy oats and forget it all. By going to war, the television glowed. Call of Duty. Xbox. Powered on. Headset on. Controller gripped. As Bryson Wills crawled into World War III. Ty Carson went to school today, and the whole time he was there, he felt like he was being watched, stared at, even though the new rumor had taken over yesterday's old one. Because rumors only last a day. But still, Ty felt like his classmates were following him, not stalking him, peeping around corners and things like that. No, but more like looking away whenever he'd catch their eyes, or cutting their conversations whenever he walked by, like he was some kind of human mute button. Made him paranoid. So paranoid, he even felt like every clock was actually a giant eye. And every time the bell rang, he imagined it was the building laughing at him. He was losing it, and he wished he could make himself small, unseeable, turn himself into a speck, into a black streak swiped across the floor from a sneaker sole. Whoa! Into a black streak swiped across the floor with a sneaker sole. Jason Reynolds, nice line. Love that alliteration. Man, that was good. Turned himself into a penny, swept into one of the corners by Mr. Munch's big broom. But he couldn't do that. None of that. So he shrank mentally. Tried to crawl inside himself. Another thing he wished he could really do. Be like a turtle. Pull his head into the home of his body. Look around the shell. Try to figure out why he felt how he felt. Why he did what he did. Which was nothing but felt like something. Yesterday. Figure out if it was wrong. It wasn't wrong. Maybe it was. He didn't know, and that was the hard part. Or at least part of the hard part about yesterday. Not just yesterday, but yesterday, too. Yesterday when everything was fine. Yesterday when he could just be Ty. Ty was cool enough to be cool with everybody. because most people looked at him like a human video game, bright, full of color and sound, awkward movements, dramatic moments. He lived in his own world, but it was a world full of windows that everyone could see into, a world full of bloops and bleeps and vrooms and the occasional boom. It wasn't strange to see him pretending to crawl up the lockers, or for him to perform tactical movements like barrel rolls in the middle of the hallway. The type of kid who wore his backpack on the front of his body, a chest pack, just so that he could pretend it was some kind of armor. And on any given day, an umbrella could become either a sword or a shotgun. And to top it all off, Ty was one of the best gamers around, nationally ranked, and everyone knew it. He'd won tournaments and competitions and had been trying to get Miss Walkley to convince Mr. Jarrett to start a gaming league at the school. "We don't need more distractions, Mr. Carson," she'd say, biting down hard on her words. "Bleep, bleep, bleep, bloop. Miss Walkley," he'd reply. He'd shake his head and she'd shake hers, and that'd be that. Because everyone knew Ty's gaming skills. His classmates were always trying to convince him to play on their squads. But Ty only played with the best. Well, he was the best, so he played with the second best. In their school, the second best was Bryson Wills, a boy whose father made him grow out his hair, and instead of letting him get it braided or cornrowed, convinced him that an afro was the best way to go. And Bryson owned it. He owned it so much that his screen name was Afro Gamer. Ty's was Tired, Tyred, which he said was pronounced tired because he was so tired of beating everyone. But most gamers thought it was Ty Red, which made sense too because Ty saw red whenever he was playing. All instincts, all thumbs. Bryson and Ty lived close enough to each other to get together on weekends and play. Sometimes Bryson would come to Ty's house, and a small house over on Crossman. Bryson liked this because Miss Cece, the world's best candy lady, lived at the top of Ty Street. And other times, Ty would come over to Bryson's house, a bigger house over on Burman. Ty preferred to play at Bryson's. The snacks were better, the TV was bigger, and a tiny dog named Max Payne wasn't running around barking all and clawing at it. The game of choice, Call of Duty, World War II, which really bothered his parents. Pac-Man, now, that's a game. You just eat and run away from ghosts, which is why I like to call life, his father said, joking. Or Super Mario Brothers, his mother added. I mean, other than fighting the big bosses, you're basically just trying not to be eaten by the environment. Mushrooms and plants and turtles, his father yipped. Oh wait, turtles? His father yipped. It's nothing like what you're playing. Ty tried to convince his parents Call of Duty was educational, that it was basically like interactive social studies class, that there was no better way to learn about that particular war than to jump right into it. There's no way you can know war, son, Ty's mother scolded. Not unless you fought in one. And you haven't. You're talking about Nazis. That's a lot more than some video game. Ty understood that he didn't know the kind of war he was simulating in the game, that his controller wasn't a rifle, and his raggedy family reunion t-shirt wasn't a flak jacket. His headset wasn't a helmet, and the sounds in his ears were, in fact, just sounds in his ears. But Ty also knew that there was some kind of war he was in, some kind of battle he did know but couldn't make sense of, that the other sounds in his head were more than just sounds, that they made his heart do weird things, made his stomach tighten. Ty knew anxiety of a kind of war. He knew the adrenaline and the confusion of war. Because yesterday, Ty had been kissed by a boy, Slim. And the water fountain, over by the water fountain, after first period PE, on his cheek, but close enough to his mouth to count. They were fighting over the water. We were fighting over the water, right? It was weird. He was surprised, but not mad, which was more surprising. It was so weird. It wasn't that weird. It was a little weird, but not a whole lot weird. I was seen. It was seen by someone no one saw see it. And that someone told everyone. Everyone. And by lunch, Slim, whose real name was Salem, had twisted the story, told everyone Ty kissed him. So when Ty walked into the cafeteria, he walked into a minefield, a war zone. Everyone locked and loaded, firing at him. Bryson had heard the rumor. It snaked around, passed from mouth to ear, a hiss whisper. It eventually came to Bryson through Remy Vaughn. If Remy didn't try to act cool, he probably would have been the coolest kid in the school, but no. So Bryson shot back, slamming his locker door. So that means he's gay? No, it don't, Bryson said, annoyed. And even if it do, so what? Bryson swung his backpack onto his shoulder, watching Remy's face, trying to work out why he cared so much about Ty and Slim. So Bryson asked him, why you care so much? I don't. You do. I mean, here's a better question. How many girls have you kissed? I don't know. A bunch, Remy said, looking off. Bryson knew that that was a lie and that he hadn't kissed anyone. And Bryson didn't hold that against him because he hadn't kissed anyone either. But he never lied about it. It was no big deal. Plus, why lie to a person you know knows the truth? Remy's best friend, Candace, was Bryson's cousin. And she was always going on and on about how he was forever acting like some kind of lover boy, and no one's ever loved. Right, a bunch. I guess negative numbers are still numbers, Bryson razzed. I just think it might be best to mind your own business. He patted Remy on the shoulder and walked away. In the cafeteria, instead of people leaving Ty alone, instead of them cracking their stupid jokes to each other, a bunch of them had decided that they'd sit with him, crowd around him at the lunch table, tease him, tease him to his face, including Slim. By the time Bryson got there, they were calling Ty all kinds of names, names that bite, names that stick and mark, names that catch fire and leave a burnt smell in the air. The boys mocked him, bending their wrists as if they just shot a basketball and were holding the follow-through. Holding. Yo, what's going on? Bryson asked, coming up to the table. He stood behind Ty, his hair like an eclipsed sun. Scoot over, Ty. Let me slide in. Ty inched to the left and Bryson sat next to him, his tray of mozzarella sticks on the table. What's everyone talking about? Oh, nothing, Slim said. Just that Ty tried to kiss me because he's gay. He said it like it was a your mama joke, like he just chopped Ty down. Ty shook his head like it didn't matter, but Bryson couldn't tell it did. It sure did. Interesting, Bryson said, looking down at the fried cheese fingers on his tray. Because I heard you kissed him. He glanced up at Slim. Because that's true, Ty confirmed, relieved Bryson was there, his back up, just like in the game. Watch my back. Cover me. That ain't true, Slim barked, looking around to make sure everyone heard him. I wouldn't kiss no boy. Hey, man. Bryson put his hand up. If you did, you did. It's all good. I mean, you might want to ask permission next time instead of just sneaking it. That's a little weird, but relax. The other guys at the table didn't know if they should laugh or ooh or nod or what. They couldn't tell if Bryson was being serious or if he was joking around. You talking like you like boys too, Trey Larson, a fake tough guy who everyone knew got chumped by the smallest kid in the school, said to Bryson. Bryson started laughing. Am I? I think Slim is. Matter of fact, I think y'all are. Bryson pointed at all the jokesters. Like my father always says, those that scar you are you. He checked their faces, and it wasn't hard to tell that they had no idea what that meant. He looked at Ty. Ty's face looked no different. A gem dropped in the mud. The point is, I don't like boys. Not like that. But I like Ty. He patted Ty on the back. Matter of fact, I like him more than I like y'all. And for real. I don't see what the big deal is. A kiss on the cheek? That's what y'all roasted him for? A kiss on the cheek? Really? Bryson looked at him, held his eyes there for a while before looking at the other guys. That's it? And then Bryson leaned over and pecked Ty on the cheek. Mud and all. then put his eyes right back on Slim. Look at that. I'm still alive. He made his voice sound ghostly, shrugged, then ate a mozzarella stick. The table fell silent. Well, at least to Bryson and Ty. They wouldn't have known if the other boys actually stopped talking and joking because they were no longer paying any attention. But attention would be paid. And it would be paid to Bryson because for the remainder of that afternoon, the rumor had become different. It had transformed, switched from Ty kissing Slim to Bryson kissing Ty. The mighty snake of gossip going from a harmless garter to a venomous python. Bryson did his best to ignore it all, to think about it as a stage in a game, a board beaten only by making it to the end of the day bell. But as soon as that bell rang and Bryson left school, he noticed that Slim and some of the other boys were following him down Portal Avenue. Bryson knew that they were trailing him because he'd never seen them walk this way before and was pretty sure that they didn't live on his side of the neighborhood. He could hear him laughing, hear him yelling things, and even though he couldn't make out what they were yelling, he could still feel the sounds of their voices pricking him like staples in the back. Pause. I'm going to read the rest of this story because it's Friday and I'm interested in doing so. But I understand if you have to get going. I understand that you might need to get on out because I always promise 30 minutes. So if you got to go, you got to go. But I'm going to keep moving because I'm loving this story. As soon as he turned down Burman Street, Bryson could hear their feet quicken, hear the footfalls on the pavement speed up like rain going from drizzle to downpour. And instead of running, Bryson just turned around, put his hands up, and did his best. That was yesterday. And today at school, Ty heard the whispers. The python had become a boa, strangling him, wrapped all around his body, squeezing him, crushing his lungs and heart. The whispers did nothing but confirm what he'd already known, what he'd already seen online the night before, the rumors that Slim and Andrew and whoever else they were with had jumped Bryson, that Bryson had held his own as best he could, but there were 4 of them, that they were calling him everything but his name. So in Mr. Davizano's last class of the day, when the bell rang, Ty ran. He ran out of class. He ran down the corridor. He ran through the double doors. He ran past Miss Post. He ran down Portal Avenue as fast as he could, as long as he could, until he was out of breath. Then he walked fast and stopped only when he got to a house a few blocks before Burman Street, a big beige-colored house with a big window, beautiful green grass and shrubs that outline the yard, accented by 2 large rose bushes. He looked around to the left, then to the right, behind him, in front of him. Then he jammed his hands into the bush and snatched a fist full of roses, the thorns needling into his fingers and palm. Hurt. But he ran. He ran and ran on and on, left on Burman, down Burman, left at Bryson, which looked nothing like the houses on Portal Avenue. No big window, no shrub or hedges, no driveway, a metal chain-linked fence that opened into a walkway that led to the front door. If Bryson hadn't paused the game to make himself a bologna sandwich, he wouldn't have heard the doorbell. He'd been playing Call of Duty all day, fighting against computerized versions of Nazis and doing everything he could, mission after mission, to not get himself killed along the way. His headset had been on since just after the morning oatmeal. His world of school rumors replaced by bombs in his ears. His hands were sore from yesterday, but they didn't stop him from thumbing the controller all day, even though his mother had warned him, told him it might be better if he'd read a book instead. Might be easier to hold a story than to hold a controller, son, she said, knowing Bryson wouldn't listen. At least feed yourself, she added, giving up before closing his bedroom door and leaving for work. And Bryson was doing just that, feeding himself for the second time when the doorbell rang. Bryson shuffled his way over to the door, his body still feeling like garbled pixels. He looked through the peephole like his father taught him to do, unlocked the deadbolt, turned the knob, pulled the door open. Ty? Ty stood there breathing heavy, holding 3 or 4 roses. It was hard to tell exactly how many because they were mangled. The human video game seemed to glitch in red streaks. The same red as the petals of the flowers was dripping from his shaking palm. You okay, man? Yeah, Ty wheezed, his back aching as if a school bus had fallen from the sky and landed right on him. Yeah, I'm okay. You okay? Yeah, man, I'm fine. I'll be fine. Ty nodded. Playing the game? He asked, trying to figure out how to make this moment less awkward. Been fighting the war all day, bro. Bryson smirked, wiggling his thumbs. His eyes skipped from Ty's face to his shredded hand. Ty nodded again. Well, I brought these for you. He held the roses out. You ain't have to do that, Bryson said. Ty nodded a third time. His eyes started to puff up and slick over. The rock in his throat began to roll. There were things they needed to talk about, things they didn't need to talk about. There was a lot to say, but nothing that needed to be said. Bryson carefully took the flowers, smelled them like he'd seen his mother do. They made his nose itch. Hey, man, we better wash that blood off your hand, Bryson said, opening the door wide. And Ty nodded once more. I like this one too. Roses? Not quite sure. Maybe that's the fight over on the side that he's walking metaphorically towards. It's a great place to end the week. I really enjoyed that. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this week's reading of Jason Reynolds' Look Both Ways. I'm enjoying this book a whole bunch and super, super grateful for Miss Angie Prophet and her willingness to share. She's got an Instagram, I think it's called Adventures in Teaching. And she's a heck of a good reader. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you. I want to say I'm super honored that you decided to come in and play. I'm thinking about a few of you out there. I know that some of you are having struggles out in virtual school world, and I want to let you know that we're here for you. Some of us have been able to go back to school. Some of us are choosing to stay at home. Some of us are feeling kind of lonely. Even though you see faces, you don't have that personal touch. And so I want to let you guys know that if you are at home and you are feeling lonely, it's okay to call. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to speak loudly and get yourself some ability to get some people around you that love you. And that's going to be a really important message for the end of this week. It is a weekend. I'm hoping that you will enjoy yourself. I hope that you will relax. I hope that the weather treats you well, and whatever it is that you go out and play in it. From now until Monday, I love you. Have a great night and get out of here. See you later. Love you lots. Peace. Bye.